Hey, we're back up. I don't know what the heck happened. The last couple days, this thing has just been doing some pretty fruity things to me. I don't know if I need to get my to get this thing up and running again. But there's my metrics are up. So it looks like I am alive and kicking now. Finally. So I don't know if you showed up. I did start this about 6 minutes ago, and yeah, it did not feel like booting up. But anyhow, welcome everybody to Apocalypse Hump Day here at the b.hive. b.hive Productions. This is a place where I unleash all of my creativity crap on the internet. Every Wednesday I read a short story regarding the apocalypse of some sort that I've written. Currently, right now, we're in the zombie apocalypse, and we're reading from my zombie novel Zechariah 14:12, Humanity's Last Stand. And yeah, we will be jumping into chapter 7 tonight. Yeah, so it's currently right now. We left off with. I need to go back. Hey, good evening, Kevin. Thanks for joining, man. Sorry for being late. We left off with Chris and her rescuer Brent. They went and rescued Hal Iverson, who was the newsman at the KFMT radio studios, and he was he was looking to get out of there. He was surrounded by a couple of zombies, and Brent jumped in there, rescued him, and now they are heading to Hal's house to see if his family is there. Chapter 7, we are going to be getting back with Len Emerson and his two girls. If you recall, last time we checked in with them, Len's mother-in-law, the kids' grandma, perished. The zombies had gotten the best of her. They were starting to chew on her, and so she offed herself with a knife. Hey, Chuck, I see. Did you bring the badgers with you? So, hey, Bobby, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so she ended herself with a knife. So, funny thing about that part of the story, my mother-in-law at the time, she's now my ex-mother-in-law, but my mother-in-law at the time took revenge on me for that one. And she's like, what did I do to you that you had to kill me in your book? And I said, it wasn't intentional. At least you died honorably. So there's that. Hey, I got some exciting news for upcoming Apocalypse Hump Days, and we will talk about that after we get done reading tonight's chapter. Again, it's chapter 7, and we will be joining Len, who is comforting his girls right now. They're holed up in a pioneer farmhouse, which is found in Heritage Acres in Fair Lakes, Minnesota. And there's chicken wire on the windows, so those are pretty well secured. And Len is just winding things up there with that, and we will join him now with chapter 7. So hold on. Better do a whiskey. Slanche. All right. By the way, it's the snow is blowing out here in Minnesota, and so hopefully you're at home in the warm comfort of your home, and you're joining us for a little scary story before you go to bed. All right, chapter 7. Len nailed the last board across the door. He had used the furniture and other wooden fixtures to secure the main floor doors and windows. He wanted to be with his girls, who were traumatized by the violent end to their grandmother. But he had to act quickly. He wanted a secure place for them, at least for a little while, and he wouldn't be able to provide that until he felt secure about the house. He already had them upstairs, huddled in one of the bedrooms. After he was done, down here, he would convert the room upstairs into a panic room. Are you very warm down there in Florida, are you, Kevin? I'll be down in Florida in a couple weeks, buddy. He searched the house for any supplies, and he only found a scythe that hung on the wall in the living room. He broke the blade off the handle and wrapped a makeshift handle with a piece of cloth from a table. Lee, Catherine, he called up the stairs. You guys doing okay? Through sniffles and tears, they both stuttered yes. His heart broke into a million pieces, and he wished his wife was with them. He had no plan of action, only that he needed to keep this house secure so they all could get some needed rest. The house was still hooked up to a well with a hand pump in the kitchen and in the bathroom. Yeah, it's too bad they don't have a security badger, isn't it, Chuck? Whoever owned this house back in the day must have been rich. He filled 2 pails up and shoved some glasses he found in the kitchen in his pocket and went upstairs. He put everything down and fell down by his girls, who were sitting on one of the feather beds. I'm so sorry, kids, he wept. Catherine pushed him away. You let Grandma die! The harder she pushed him, the tighter he gripped her in his arms. I'm sorry, Kath. I'm so very sorry. All 3 wept for what seemed to be hours, but judging by his watch, it had only been an hour and a half. Catherine had fallen asleep on his lap, so he brushed her hair back with his hand and then moved her to a pillow and covered her with a quilt. Lee had gotten up earlier and was getting herself a drink of water, and she asked if she could eat. They split a can of tuna. When are we going to look for Mom? She asked, looking out the window. I have been, honey. He found he had been dozing, so he jumped when Lee spoke up. Every place we've been to, I've looked for signs of Mom. She kept staring out at the night. Do you think she's still alive? Len paused more than he thought he probably should have. Yes, I think your mom is a tough woman. And where there's a will, there's a way for her. She was with the military, so I believe they're keeping her safe. Grandma was tough, she said slowly. Yes, she was. All the women in our family are pretty tough. You come from a long line of Amazons. She finally turned to look at Len. What's happening, Dad? I don't know, kiddo. He sat her down next to himself and then put his arm around her. We all woke up to this nightmare. Grandma woke us up at 3 a.m. Lee spoke softly, recalling her morning. Like she does once in a while. She does? Yeah, it was fun. She'd have hot chocolate and toast waiting for us. I don't know why she did it. She just did. We'd sit up for an hour or so and just chat about stuff. What kind of stuff? Just stuff, Dad. Maybe we'd put in a movie and we'd all curl up on the couch and watch it. Or we'd just go back to bed when we were done talking. Then we'd sleep in the next day. She had a light smile on her face, recalling those memories. Then her face went grim. He had never seen that look on his daughter's face before, and he didn't ever want to see it again. But last night, she woke us up. Kathy didn't want to wake up, so we let her sleep. It was just us. We were dunking our toast in our hot chocolate when Arnie started barking. Grandma thought it was odd because he never barks. I got a little scared when she said that. She went to the front door and turned on the porch light and she gasped. It was like a scared gasp. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me to go in the bedroom with Kathy and lock the door. I didn't want to go in there with Kathy. I was immediately scared. I wanted to be with Grandma. But she turned out the kitchen light and shooed me into the spare room and closed the door, telling me not to unlock the door until she told me to. She wouldn't tell me why, and she wouldn't tell me what was going on. She just kept shushing me and pushing me. I heard her let Arnie out, and he started growling and barking at something. I distantly heard the goats calling. I heard her shouting at someone or something, and that's when I heard Arnie. She was yelping like something hurt him. Grandma screamed, "Oh my God!" and then called for him, but he never came. And then Grandma must have grabbed her shotgun because I heard the door close, and then she walked to the hall closet and then back to the door again, and I heard a boom and then a second one, and I opened the door and I called for her and she didn't answer me. So I woke Kathy up and I held her. She was silent for about 5 minutes and then continued. I heard her on the phone. She was calling 911, I think, because she was giving her name and address. Then she was really quiet about what she was calling about. I thought maybe there was a burglar or something. I don't know. Kathy totally didn't know what was going on. And then she knocked on our door. I opened it and knew she'd been crying. I asked her what was going on, but all she kept asking was if we were okay. Eventually she told us that someone was killing the goats on the front steps. Then Arnie went after them and they hurt him too. She said she had to shoot them and was waiting for the sheriff's deputies to come out. We waited a long time, to the point where we fell asleep waiting. Did they ever show up? Len asked. I don't think so. Because when we woke up, there was rattling on the window out in the living room, on our big window. She told us to stay put, but we followed her out. I wish we would have stayed there. But we didn't. And that's when we saw them. How many were there? Like 10, I think. Her eyes were glazed over, but her story poured out of her like she'd been holding this in. They were so gross, Dad. Most of them were at the window, but some were just roaming around Grandma's front yard. Grandma rushed us through the house to the garage. We'd just gotten into the car when those things had pushed in the garage door. There were so many more of them than we originally thought. We got out of the car and ran back into the house. Grandma locked the door to the garage and then the breezeway, and then when we got into the house, she realized the door from the mudroom didn't even latch shut. She went back out into the garage and got some planks and nailed it shut just as those things were coming in. That must have been really frightening for you. Len tried to calm her, but she continued. When we got into the living room, the front glass had been shattered, and they were trying to climb inside. Grandma shot a couple of them, and then we ran and hid in the spare room. We pushed the dresser up against the door, and then Grandma started pulling up the carpet. She said there was a door to the crawl space underneath the house. I didn't know if you were coming or if you were dead. But Grandma said to write on the wall for anyone that would be looking for us later. She said we were going to try to make it to the barn. Catherine was already panicking, but she got worse when she heard we were going to go outside with those things. I wrote the message, and then Grandma handed me the shotgun to carry so she could carry Kath. I never held a gun before, Dad. Ever. We made it to the barn without running into any of those things. But when she opened the barn door, The crowd by the house began walking up the hill to us. We went up that hayloft, and then she pulled the ladder up so they couldn't get up to us. That's when you found us, like 3 hours later." She wept harder than Len had ever seen her weep before. She had been holding that all in until now. She thought she had to be strong for her younger sister. He hugged her and whispered comforting words to her as she cried. "I just want to find Mom," she gasped. "When we find Mom, we can be a family again." Len was looking out the window. His daughter was looking out earlier. A group of them had scattered from the remains of Grace. There were only bones left, and he shed tears himself. "What's the matter, Dad?" She pulled her face away to look at him. "Nothing," he was programmed to say. "I guess this is all getting to me, too." Sometime in the night, they both finally slept. And that is the end of chapter 7. So, thank you guys for sitting through and listening to that one. Next week on chapter 8, we are going to be meeting the President of the United States as he is flying around in Air Force One while the rest of us are all being chewed on down here. So, so join me for that one. As far as some exciting news goes regarding, well, it's exciting for me. I'm going to have a friend of mine, Jim West, Sergeant Jim West. He's a combat vet. He was an airborne ranger, and he's been deployed to quite a few places. And he has seen some things, and he has fought some wars. He has taught people to fight wars, and a lot of other things he had to do serving our country. So I'm very honored to have him with us. He and I have been friends since junior high school, and we have always talked about what would happen in a zombie apocalypse. What would we do? So I wanted to bring him on and talk to him about what, as an airborne ranger, what would he do in order to survive as an actual zombie apocalypse. So I'd be interested to hear from him. And also another reason that I do this is because Jim, bless him, it's almost impossible to watch a zombie show with him because he takes it apart tactically, and he will comment on what a person should really do. He can also talk about the way a person's holding a gun, and he could tell you who trained him by the way they hold a gun or shoot a gun. So it's pretty interesting, and it's kind of fun to banter back and forth with him. So I am going to try to figure out how to use the technology that I have on here so that we can do a little bantering back and forth and talk about that. Also, as I was perusing the interwebs tonight, I fell into this rabbit hole where I found out that the U.S. government did have a contingency plan for a zombie apocalypse. It's called ConOp 8888. And let's see. Let me find the basis here. It's also known as the Counter-Zombie Dominance. It's a U.S. Department of Defense Strategic Command ConOp, or Concept of Operations. It's a document that describes a plan for the United States and its military defending against zombies. It was initially classified by the United States intelligence community, but it was eventually declassified following a Freedom of Information Act request. The April 30th, 2011 document was written as a part of a fictional training scenario for junior officers undergoing training in JOPES, or Joint Operation Planning and Execution System. the Department of Defense's contingency planning system, and for strategic training. The United States Strategic Command instructors found that a zombie survival plan made for a very useful and effective training tool, while avoiding the political risks of using a real country in training scenarios. So what I did was I go, since I declassified this, then it's got to be out there on the Google machine. So I did Google it, and I also, because I care about you folks, I also linked it here on this page here. So if you look under my beautiful picture here, and you go down there, and don't be thinking dirty thoughts. If you go down there, there'll be a link to this document. It's a PDF file on this ConOp 8888. And I was kind of looking it over just to see what's on it. It's actually it's quite thorough on what the military response to a zombie apocalypse. They got everything down. If you guys want to download it or at least click on it and take a look. They talk about defensive operations, offensive operations, conditions for implementation, the zombie threat summary. They have listed the different types of zombies. They have pathogenic zombies, which they call PZs. These are zombie life forms created after an organism is infected by a virus or bacteria or some other form of contagion. There's also the RZ, or radiation zombies. This is zombie life forms that are created after an organism is infected by an extreme dosage of electromagnetic and or particle radiation. There is the evil magic zombies, or EMZs. They're zombie life forms created via some form of occult experimentation in what might be otherwise be referred to as evil magic. Now, as silly as that sounds, that is probably the most realistic form of a zombie because they're Haitian voodoo practices, all that stuff. They do claim to have some type of powder or whatever drug that does zombify and make them zombie slaves, makes whatever their target makes them into zombie slaves. So that's about the most realistic one they have on here so far. They have space zombies, which in a way might be what we're dealing with here in my book. SZs are zombie life forms originating from space or created by toxic contamination of the Earth's environment via some form of extraterrestrial toxin or radiation. They also have zombie satellites, can be classified as SZs. However, they pose no danger to humans unless they conduct an unplanned deorbit. Typically, zombie satellites only pose a threat to the SATCOM services like DirecTV. Weaponized zombies, or WZs, are zombie life forms deliberately created via biochemical engineering for the purpose of being employed as weapons. Zombie weaponization programs and supporting infrastructures are included in COAs to deal with these threats. So, the symbiont-induced zombies, or the SIZs. Now, this is probably the closest thing to the zombies we're dealing with in my book here, Zechariah 14:12. The symbiont-induced zombies. They are a zombie life form originating from the introduction of a symbiont life form into an otherwise healthy host. Although symptoms of symbiont zombieism is similar in most regards to pathogenic zombieism, The symbiont does not kill the host organism quickly or at all. However, there is no known way to save an organism after zombieism has occurred, even if the symbiont is removed. So, yeah. So, my book is dealing with SIZs, and there's a military contingency for them. Then there is the VZs. They have the vegetarian zombies. Yes, this is our tax money going towards these plans here, these con ops. Vegetarian zombies are zombie life forms originating from any cause but pose no direct threat to humans because they only eat plant life. Although VZs do not attack humans or other animal life, they will consume all plant life in front of them. They can cause massive deforestation or elimination of basic food crops essential to humans. Where normal carnivorous zombie commonly groan the word brains, semi-comprehensively, vegetarian zombies can be identified by their aversion to humans, affinity for plants, and their tendency to semi-comprehensively groan the word grains instead of brains. Yeah, all right, sorry about that. There's also listed in this document are CZs. These are chicken zombies. Although it sounds ridiculous, this is actually the only proven class of zombie that actually exists. Okay, so I guess I was wrong. CZs were first documented in Jonathan M. Forrester's 2006 online article, Zombie Chickens Taking Over California. CZs occur when old hens that can no longer lay eggs are incorrectly euthanized by poultry farmers using carbon monoxide. The hens are then deposited in large piles to decompose. The hens appear to be dead when buried, but inexplicably come back to life and dig themselves out from the piles of dead chickens. After reaching the surface, chicken zombies stagger about for a period of time before ultimately expiring due to internal organ failure. CZs are simply terrifying to behold and are likely only to make people become vegetarians in protest to animal cruelty. They appear to be no direct threat to humans. They are different from WZs because they are a result of actions taken to kill a living organism, vice actions taken to deliberately reanimate dead organisms or impair life functions to a minimal function. So yeah, anyway, this might be something I'm going to read through, and we can talk to Sergeant West about some of the stuff here that the military uses to become prepared to deal with a zombie apocalypse. So, all right, folks, it is getting late here. It's 9:35. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode of Apocalypse Humpday. Join me again next week when we will be hanging out with the president in Air Force One, and we'll be dealing with that. So, all right, you guys, have a very good night. If you're out and about here in the winter, probably stay indoors. I heard it's the wind and the snow are pretty wicked. So, all right, thanks everybody for joining me, and I hope to see you guys again next week. Peace out. Have a good night, Jason. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. All right, Jones, I'm out. Mwah. Love ya.